Good evening.
That was nice and loud. I like that.
That was fun. Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Saturday Night Rabbit Hole. With me today, I have Canuck, and I have a new guest, Tim, better known as Second Tim 3 _ over there on Twitch and everywhere else. We welcome him and into our discussion group. Luke is super busy. He's trying to get back. He'll be on. He'll be on already, so don't worry. But yeah, we I don't know where that came from. That was wild. Good evening, everybody, and good evening over there on YouTube. Good evening on Rumble. Good evening on Facebook and locals. Good evening, everybody, and over here on Twitch as well. and we welcome you all. And tonight, and now I don't know if you have any links ready for the first part of it, Canuck, but I'll try to put one or two up that I have. But you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I have the ones ready for Nevada.
Okay, good.
That's I have ones ready for Mexico.
All right, cool.
And we can we'll wing
intertwine. Yeah, you know what we do. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Okay, so yeah. If you're over there on any of these other channels other than Twitch now here, I am recording here on Twitch live and on Facebook and on YouTube and locals and the like, Rumble. And this is one of our most fun nights, Saturday evenings. And not everybody has some, date to go to or, go down the bar or whatever, sit back here and join us and let's BS together here. But anyway, I'm not gonna go into more than that. Let me do this here. All right, let me kind of explain what we do here for those people who don't know. Here, this one. Let me share my screen with y'all. Bam, there you go. Hi, I'm Joe of the Joe Slick Live Show. My interactive live show is on twitch.tv/Joe Slick Live. Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, and occasionally in the evenings at 7. During the live show, I review and talk about reports from government, private, and other reporting agencies and websites regarding celestial and terrestrial phenomena. Topics will include solar flares, sunspots, geomatic storms, and near-Earth asteroids and comets that are being monitored around the world. Included in the report is current events in the last 12 to 24 hours here on Earth, consisting of volcanic, seismic, and weather events. I close the morning report off with what's happening in the local and world news. Thank you, and you can be a part of the morning report by going to twitch.tv/Joe Slick Live. Look forward to seeing you there, and remember, don't get none on you. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Hit the bell button so you get notified when we come over. Anyway, oh man, get through there. Oh my gosh, I'm like super tuned in right now on too much stimulus right now all over the place. So it's like I'm super heightened. Good evening, Tim. How are you, bud?
Man, I'm doing great today. It's a happy Saturday.
Yeah. It sounds like he's breaking up just a hair. Canuck, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, you're
so far.
Yeah, you got to get off on the other one, Tim. You got to shut the one down so that you have better sound there, but because you're breaking up real bad. So you had a good weekend thus far?
Yep. Good
Right
so
on,
far.
right on. Has it been raining up there by you?
No, sunny today.
Yeah. All
Because
right.
it's hot again here today, back up in the 80s.
Oh, nice.
Same
Summer
thing
sun.
tomorrow. And then after that, it's going to cool down again.
Oh, yeah. Whatever. Let's see. I heard some there. Did we have an event just now? It was a small one, right? Because I heard your phone tell you probably a 4.5 somewhere. Timmy, are you there again?
Yeah, I'm still here, man.
All right, good. It sounded more clear that time.
Yeah, that was better.
Yeah, that was way better. Feel free to jump in anywhere with what's going on. I know right now solar wind right now is at 358. Proton density is at 1.6. We've had a couple of M1 flares here over the last 24 hours. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 4 sunspots now that are blasting out M flares. 4 of them. KP is pretty low right now. Class M's are up to 70% now, and X is down to 15. So it's been kind of good on one side, but kind of bad on the other. So, what else? Flare absorptions. It's got a download. All right, let me just. Yeah, West Coast got nailed. Hey, come on, we were okay. What's going on?
Zapped.
I know, right? There was a blast that happened yesterday or the day before that I heard. They're now saying that it's gonna come up into us. Oh yeah, there's a pretty good one at the top today. All right, so let's go into it here. Looks like we just got out of an M. We're all the way down into C2 right now. I'm not seeing that radiation storm. Tim, was there a radiation storm that I heard today?
Earlier, man. I think it dissipated. So. Did you hear me?
No.
Dissipated a little while ago.
Okay, it dissipated a little while ago. I'm sure that's what he said. All right. Well, solar flares. Let me make sure people can see what I'm seeing here. Oh, no, you guys can't. All right. Share this.
Yeah, because there's a sunspot that's way south. Down near the bottom that's flaring. Which is not supposed to be down there at this time. Wages World was talking about it. Because usually when it's solar maximum, they're more towards the equator of the sun, not one way off at the bottom.
All right, over here at spaceweatherlive.com, I'm looking at solar stuff. You can see we've had 3 M flares. The last X was on this day in history, in X 7.7 on 2001, which was the beginning of that solar cycle. It peaked out, I think, in 03. I could be wrong. Don't necessarily quote me on that, but yeah, I think 2003 was a peak, or it could have been 20. No, it was 3. All right, 20 years, yeah. Because the solar cycle we're in right now competes with that solar cycle in power wise, and right now the power we have in this solar cycle is stronger than the 2 solar cycles ago. That was a pretty strong one. So 2005 and M9, 14 near 6. Yeah. Geomatic storms on this day in history. G1, G2s at 1987. Wow. That's a key area. 1987. Am I right, Canuck?
Well, 87 was Superstition Hills quake, I think.
Yeah. But also the power outage in Canada, no?
No, that was 89. Same
89.
Same year as San Fran quake.
Yeah, San Fran. Look at that, baby.
And a 5 in New South Wales. But we won't get into the Australia.
Not yet. Thing. Yeah, a little bit tonight. Yeah, we'll get into it. All right. So I thought there was a radiation storm. No radiation storm has been reported. So I thought it was like R2 or something.
Well, I think there's a
different.
big geomagnetic storm in 2003 too. If I remember.
Yeah, I just didn't find it. It's probably because it's there that I just didn't see it. Right up here. R1 minor in the last 24. None. Yeah, they don't have anything in solar weather either. So I wonder what happened. It was reported earlier today, and so we're trying. We don't know.
From a space weather live for an R2.
Yeah. There are no R2 today. No R2D2. KP wasn't even there either. Yeah. So it didn't. Whatever. Back to it. All right. So, let's go right into the fun stuff. Did or did not Iceland just explode again? Oh, in the last 24 hours. Well, it did. It blew up yesterday pretty good, and kind of went strange because it went strangely north, and then it exploded in the middle of the night, and now that one up in the front more active than anything else. So I think the idea of Grindavik is being okay. The Blue Lagoon
is back open.
I was just about to say Canuck says back open, and I guess they're still producing steam for down the way. To me, that's like Danger, Will Robinson danger, but hey, whatever. Canuck, I'll leave you to.
Okay, so I'll do the short summary from starting on Thursday night. So the big fissure that opened Thursday night was 4 kilometers long. Well, later on that night, because when I was in the live streams with all the other people watching it live, there was quakes that kept going north. So there was another fissure. I think it was like 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. Iceland time. Opened up north of the original 4 kilometer fissure. And they said at one point it was 2 to 3 kilometers long. So that would make the total fissure with the first one, the big one, 4 kilometers long, and the 2 to 3 kilometer long one that opened up after later that night would have made the whole thing 7 kilometers long if it would have kept going. But what has happened now is the first fissure, the 4 kilometer one, is gone dormant or whatever, so it's not doing anything. Now the only one that's still active is the northern one that's like a couple kilometers long. So the fissure that's active now is not the same one that's by closer to Grindavik and Blue Lagoon. The new one that's active now is up, well, it's within 5 kilometers of the main highway. So the main highway is the one between the airport and Reykjavik. And where it's erupting now, there wasn't any like previous eruption in that area. So the lava is just all spreading out there. It's in a flat place and it's spreading out, but it's not really like threatening anything because it would have to go way farther. And they said on the live streams today that I was watching, the volume of magma coming out of the new fissure, the northern one, is 5% the flow rate of what it was when it first started the other night. So it slowed down like 95%. So they're thinking that they're not going to have to worry about it reaching the roads because it's not producing the lava flow as at a greater rate as when it started the other night. So that's why they have everything all opened again. So the road to Blue Lagoon and Grindevik's back open, so people are all going there. But they've had bad weather because it's been super windy. So it's been hard for them to do like the drone stuff because it keeps blowing the drones all over the place and knock them out of the sky and wearing out all their batteries. But Isaac has been there. He did it both days, but it was a bit easier today than what it was yesterday. But today was worse for like smoke from the moss fires because where the lava's coming out now is where it hasn't been before, so there's moss there for it to burn.
Oh, it's so, like that's a moss that covers the ground instead of dirt. It's this moss that grows there, right?
Yeah, so it's making a whole bunch of smoke, and of course it's windy there, and it's blowing everything all over today. But really, you can only see the new fissure from the webcam that's in Vogar, which is a little village that's right on the main highway there. So you can see it from that webcam, but you can't see it from the other webcams because it's too windy and it's too far north, so you can't see it really good. And the only other way you can see it is if somebody's got a drone that flies it there so you can see it closer. Or they fly over it with a helicopter, because I think they did that today too.
All right. Yeah, I'm just picked up the eruption site here. The latest update, 1600 yesterday. So there's more events happening. I think the last one popped after this update, or did it? And I have a new map, or the old map that we had the other day from Friday.
Yeah, they don't have the new
stuff up here.
Yeah, the new lava on there from the new fissure yet.
Not yet. And this is the image that we have. This is the original 4 kilometer, real close, 3.9, 3.6, depending on who you're talking to. This is the last eruption that happened, the purple. And what's happened as it ripped all the way through here, and then these kind of like fused shut. But this one is where it's going, and it's leaking north.
Yeah, the new fissure is above on that map you're looking at now, up there at the very top, or the top thing is.
Yeah, the bottom one.
Yeah, it's up beyond that now.
Yeah,
that's where it is. So when they have the new map, the lava flow right now is within 5 kilometers, they said, of the main highway. So the fissure is kind of going northeast. So it's actually going away from the Blue Lagoon Road. And it's actually going in the...
Yeah, northeast. Up here, there's a road.
Yeah, going towards the main highway. That's the main highway between Reykjavik and Keflavik, where the airport is. Because people were pulling off on the side of the road on the main highway today and causing big traffic jams because they were all watching it from the main highway, the fissure from the main highway. They've been doing it the last 2 days.
All right, we have Clemmer Doodle on the line here too with us. He made it in.
Like it'll make more sense once we have the new map. Whenever they do it,
because it's way up here, but there's a road that goes off at the top of this whole screen because this is very tightly put in there. There's a road that goes basically east-west on this, and it's within closest I heard was 3 kilometers, 4 kilometers. Is that right?
Well, I heard 4 earlier, but then the people that were there today in the chat that are from there, from like Vogar or whatever, because there's people in the chat from Vogar. So they said, well, it's 5 kilometers because there's already all the people have been out there already.
Oh, okay.
Like the ISR, and I think they were out taking samples of the lava already. Because when Isaac was doing his stream, when he was editing, he was coming back with the drone, and you could see all the ISR people were out there on buggies or ATVs or whatever they were.
Yeah, pulling little samples.
Yeah. So I imagine they were out there sampling the lava if they could get close enough. But somebody fell in the crack yesterday.
Oh, shit.
But it wasn't like where the lava was. They were trying to get out there. Somebody that was hiking. So they got injured. The search and rescue people had to go and pick them up.
That's crazy.
They were trying to hike out there to see where it was.
Well, they don't know the ground's going to give way. Just like the poor other guy that disappeared. He went whoop and nowhere to be seen again.
Well, the locals know how to get to it, but they said if you went out there didn't know what you were doing because the moss is all over everything, you could slip and
bang your knee.
Because there's people talking about when I was in the chats that were from there, so they know. Like probably a local could go out there and wouldn't be a problem, right? Because they'd be able to get close to it, or the search and rescue people, or whatever. But the average person, because they had to go and rescue them anyway. So I don't know what happened to them.
On last night, the 23rd, the update says the seismic activity and ground deformation rate of the eruption site has slowed down. Today, the 23rd August, the eruptive activity has been primarily occurring north of Stora Skogfell. According to the information, Icelandic Coast Guard's surveillance flights, they flew at midday today. The main activity is limited to 2 areas north of Stora Skogfell. Right here. This is the mountain, Stora Skogfell. Right? So up here, it's focused on this out here. Kind of good for everybody else down here.
It's good where it is right now because it's not harming anything, right? But if it keeps going north, if the eruptions keep going up, eventually it's going to get to the main highway, which won't be good.
Right.
Which is what all the locals are worried about right now, right?
Niagara's Fall is here's Geldingadir. That's a volcano too. All this is volcanoes, but it's not a huge one. But Fager's Fall is right there. And it's west of this, but there's a lot of fissures that go clearly to the west. What the hell? Thought I had it already set for you. Apologize.
And when Wilsey did his report today, he had all the old fissures in it because somebody sent him the links to it.
There's a couple of links on that other side too.
Yeah. Send him links to all the fissures so he could put them on there. So he put them on there today. So you could compare all the previous eruptions where the fissures were to the current one.
Mm-hmm. Now,
he didn't have the latest lava map yet, so you can put that on there.
Nobody has the latest lava map right now, but I'm looking at I'm sharing the earthquakes that have happened in the last 24 hours. 94 earthquakes.
Yeah, he went through all those. He showed how they started right down where the big fissure opened up first, and then he showed them like every hour going up, and you could see them going up.
Oh yeah, I saw that too. Yeah, you can see the crack moving north, which was good because that's where the main pressure was feeling a way to get out of, whatever the least resistive area.
Yeah, and the bigger ones were actually up where it opened the new fissure.
Yeah, right up here.
And then as soon as it opened that fissure,
not quite right there,
and the lava started coming out, then it slowed down dramatically after that.
All right.
Just how he explained, well, it was busting through up there because the rock would be more brittle because it hadn't had any.
Yeah, there's a road
busting through it yet.
There's this road right here that it's approaching from Reykjavik. It's kind of the northwest to southeast road that cuts across. I thought this was the road it was near, but it's not. It's this road, the 41. That's the one.
It's actually closer to the main highway than
41.
it is.
The airport road. Yeah, the airport road. That's, or it's closer to this road over here at the 41. But it hasn't reached up here yet. But there's quite a little bit of earthquakes moving up north. That's, not very big.
If you look up the history of the other ones, that's probably how it did it. It probably started at the bottom and worked its way up.
Right.
So I think that's what it's doing now.
It may get a stronger earthquake up in here.
Because when I looked up the Aldvorp craters, the lava that came from them, it almost made it to where the highway is now from the Aldvorp craters, which are west of Grindavik. So my guess is it's going to try and do that. We'll see if it makes it all the way there before it stops. But one of the scientists said it may do it 10 more times.
Well, it's
kind of on the rinse and repeat cycle right now, isn't it, Canuck?
Yeah, because it's already done 6 eruptions in that place and 3 over at Baggrad. So there's been 9 eruptions there in total, including the latest one. So the Sudnuker craters is done twice the amount of eruptions of Fagrisfall. Yes. So we'll see if it keeps going right up the line, takes out the highway.
I think we got another little map here. This is the newest one, way up here. Yeah, it's getting past Fagrisfall.
Because the Vogar people weren't, or Vogar, I think. They might say V different.
Right.
Israel has launched preemptive strike on Hezbollah. There's massive rockets and missiles coming in.
Hold on. I'm going to it now. I'm going to it now.
Yeah.
Massive Ukrainian attack? No.
They launched preemptive strike because they saw that Hezbollah was starting to launch a whole bunch of missiles and stuff.
So the Israelis launched a massive preemptive strike on Hezbollah because they saw them preparing to launch all their missiles.
Oh, Israel. Come on, Israel. War.
So that's exciting.
Yeah, shit. Everything happens, right?
Yeah.
I don't see it on the news. Maybe see here.
Everything happens on the rabbit hole.
Man, no shit, man. It's crazy.
Something always happens, so I haven't looked at my phone, so we'll see.
Luke,
Can y'all hear me better now?
Yeah, we have Tim on the line, Luke. He's on here.
Nice.
Can you hear me better now?
Oh,
yeah, I can hear you good, bud.
Yeah,
Whatever
I had to
you
go
do,
actually I had to go hack my PC and jump in online from my laptop and my 3 displays, and so because the other stuff. So anyway,
Yeah.
I'm here.
All
All right.
No, I only see it on 2 of my things right now.
On who? On YouTube there?
Yeah, Blazing Press and End Time Survival. Like, he puts it on YouTube first, and then he goes to Rumble.
Yeah.
Unless he's live on. Yeah, that's what he's doing.
Because YouTube disabled.
Uh-oh. He's on Rumble now?
Yeah.
What's his thing on Rumble?
Blazing Press, he is on Rumble.
Okay, well, I'll get to it right now. Dun, 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 dun,
Like, his headline is something is happening in northern Israel right now. That's what he has for his
All right, I got him.
headline.
Live. He's live. Mideast Updoor War Update. I got a commercial.
Oh, it's on Agenda Free TV, though, now, too, I see.
Agenda Free TV. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, his headline on Agenda Free TV: Israel launches preemptive strikes on Hezbollah in Lebanon. Live breaking news. Agenda Free, he's on both YouTube and Twitch.
Israel launches preemptive strike. Lebanon prevent large-scale Hezbollah attack 20 minutes ago. ABC Israel live update. Israel launches preemptive strike on Hezbollah. IDF says 25 minutes ago.
Yeah,
So
I
that'd
see.
be in
Yeah,
Lebanon, right?
yeah. So I
Yeah.
see. Yeah, the IDF has announced it too because I have them on my YouTube
All
too.
right.
So that's like 3 sources. So
It's
going nuts.
probably happening. That just preemptive strike just means a preventative. Don't you think?
Well, by what my sister said, she said, because whatever she's watching, I don't know which one, but she has a bunch of other ones that she watches too, besides what I have. So she said they're launching the preemptive strike because they saw them preparing to launch the missiles. Because they have to come out of their holes to launch the missiles.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what's happening.
It says Iran can launch preemptive strike on Israel through proxies. That's always been there. What is it? I streamed with 6 hours ago. Woolsey is preemptive strike. I couldn't find it anywhere, bud.
Well, it's probably just because it's so new, right?
What the hell's that guy's name again on YouTube?
Which one? Agenda Free TV or the Blazing Press guy?
I thought it was all in the same. I didn't know.
No, Blazing Press guy he puts like short little things on YouTube. So he just gives like,
this dude here. Yeah, this dude, he's weird as shit. But yeah, he's cool, but he's weird as shit.
And then he goes on Rumble. So he says to go to Rumble. So
yeah, because they'll shut him down if he says some certain things.
Yeah. But Agenda Free TV, he's on both YouTube and Twitch, both.
So he's just, from what I'm seeing, I'm telling everybody I'm not going to share it. What he's showing is just, it looks like Tel Aviv, or maybe I don't see the rock. So Israel launches preemptive strike. Yeah. Could have been just maybe 20 planes doing some damage, man. When you got bugs, you got to spray, right?
Well, we'll see if a whole bunch of rockets show up on all the live streams. But.
Right. These people are always behind.
Because the other guy I watched from there, he was in Jordan today. So he was over checking out to see how the Jordanians were doing at Petra. So he had a whole big report on what was going on there and how they're all losing all their money because Petra's all based on tourism. And they're down to only like 20 people a day. When this time of year they'd get anywhere like 2,000 to 5,000 people coming through there to see Petra a day. So all the people that work there are all running out of money because there's been less and less tourists coming to visit there ever since October 7th. Well, of course, now it's even worse, right? Because nobody's flying there.
Right.
So I thought that was pretty interesting because he's been like living in Jerusalem, this ex-US Army guy that I watch. But every once in a while he'll go on a trip. So he goes over to Jordan to see what's going on there. I haven't seen him go to Saudi Arabia or anything. That probably wouldn't be a good idea, but he goes to Jordan, he goes to like northern Israel. And
looks like today the Hezbollah launched more than 50 rockets into the Golan Heights. I think Israel's just saying, "Fuck you, I'm done. We're gonna do some damage."
Well, yesterday it was like 100 or 150. Yeah. I think today they've been firing more the last few days.
Right.
But
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Maybe like 50, 100, whatever.
I posted a link in chat, Joe.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens, but we can go back to the other stuff now, I guess.
Okay, well, finish up what you're doing. Still on the screen.
Yeah.
Iceland, you're talking about.
Yeah. So now, well, they don't know how long that last fissure is going to keep going, because they said today that the flow was 5% of what it was on when it first started the other night. So that means it's coming out 95% less flow than what it started on Thursday night. So it slowed down quite a bit.
Oh, we just had a little quake.
Yeah, which is why they think it's not going to make it to the highways anytime soon. Which is why they opened everything back up yesterday. So
Well, it
everybody's
just had
all
another 2.2 in the southern side of it all.
yeah.
Well, no, I'm sorry. That's where the rip's happening. Yeah, it just had another 2.2, so it's still pumping stuff up there. Yeah, it's away. All the earthquakes are away from. I'll show you. All these earthquakes are here. Here's Grindavik down here on the bottom, and the Blue Lagoon and the other thing is right here. So all the stuff up here is happening. There was one little one, but and it's kind of want to say it's kind of wanting to move around the corner. Well, that hurt. Didn't know how to pop the top off of that beer.
It's in stereo. It's enhanced sound.
Jeez.
Oh, swatting flies.
Yeah.
It sounded like you put the edge of a beer bottle on a side of something and punched it.
No, not tonight.
That's funny, dude. Like what? Because that was pretty loud. If you're thumping flies, all right. Be a fly catcher, killer. Anyway, so here's the danger zone for them down here. It's well north. And there's the road, the 43 that is where it's moving kind of like that. And they don't want it to go over that road because that'd be bad.
Yeah. And the peeps that were in Grindavik that evacuated the other night, Thursday night, are all back there now too.
Yeah. All right, which is good.
Because there's people in the chat that said, yeah, I work at one of the fish plants. And so they're back at working at the fish plant already.
Trying to make a dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they got to do it when it's warm. Otherwise, it's going to be colder than they're at.
Yeah.
They're always cold, but hey, whatever. Matter. All right. So anything else on this?
No, that's it. They're going to wait and see how long it keeps erupting. Which could be a couple days, could be 2 weeks, could be a month. Who knows? Just wait and see what it does.
All right. Looks like Timmy got bounced out again. It just started sounding good.
Yeah.
But anyway.
As soon as the beer was popped, it knocked him right out.
Oh, here he comes. He's back. Oh my gosh.
Maybe he had to go get some too. That's probably it.
Hey, Canuck. All right. So we're going to start a new series, a new topic here. And the topic I'm going to name this is defining a lineament. That's my topic. Now, understand that the topic, when I say defining a lineament, I'm not defining the word lineament. We're defining a lineament, meaning we're showing example of what we mean by what a lineament is. And we're going to show you in an odd way. It's a way that, you know, the information's there and nobody looks at it. It's almost as though there are blinders on some people, but it may be also that, you know, the gifting that several people here have, I mean, who they are as a personality and the gifting that what makes them tick. You know, there's several interesting people here that come to JSL, Joe Slick Live. And but it's interesting that we're going to put forth a supposition that says earthquakes are happening along lineaments, and it's quite possible that we'll be able to prove that the lineaments are creating the faults. And there is a historical record where you can see specific events happen along these faults, boundary lines, lineaments that translate over millennia, or not millennia, but decades, and even maybe a millennia, who knows? But even 100 years or so or more. So in saying that, I put it in the title that defining a lineament. We're going to look at an interesting lineament. I'll ask first. I'll ask Canuck. Why don't you define the word lineament to you in your perspective of what that means?
Well, when I first started doing this, I started looking up the lines where quakes progress along.
All right.
That's how I started it
No,
originally.
I'm not asking that. I'm asking you to define the word lineament in the most succinct way you can say. Don't give the examples.
Well,
Just
to simplify, it's just a geographic line that you can identify from looking at. And because that's how the original geo started doing it way back before. So that's where they got the lineament word from.
All right. So we have this ligament that is in a given area, and what we're going to do is we're going to try and show you that events happen along these things, and there's really no logic for it to happen along those things, because they could be elsewhere, but why? And then when you see these events happen along this one, there are events that happen along other ones at the same time, and it's whether stronger or weaker, there is some sort of correlation in the historical record will prove that, or will not say prove it, but it lend to the notion of what we're trying to say. So I'm gonna let you talk a little bit about it. I'm gonna be right back. Give me 2 minutes, even 2 and 2, as Chuck says. But I'll be right back. But go ahead and explain to you in your terms what it means. And don't forget to be so noisy there, Clem, because I know you want to know about what these lineaments are too.
Right.
So
Okay.
I'll be right back.
When I first started studying them, I started looking for the word amongst all the geologists, lineament. So then I had to see a map first to see where they identified them. So the first stuff that I saw were all the ones that cross over in the center of the U.S., basically, which are all the ones in Kansas. So I started with all the ones crossing over in Kansas. Well, once I saw the name of each one, doesn't matter, there's a whole bunch. There's probably 20 on that map. So I started looking up Texas lineament, because that's one of the ones we talk about the most. So then I found out, well, who identified it first? How far does it go? Where is it? Where do people think it started? And this stuff all way back like 50s, 60s. They started trying to figure all this stuff out. So when I looked up Texas lineament, it said from Corpus Christi going northwest all the way through, well, New Mexico, Arizona, then through the Mojave where Ridgecrest is, then going through Owens Valley, all that same area, right on up through. And they said it went through somewheres and came out near like Mendocino. That was the original definition. Well, when I looked into it farther, then they added more stuff. And as time has gone on, I think it connects to the Blanco fracture zone. And then I started studying all these people that were identifying all these lineaments all over. So I'm just using the Texas lineament for the simple example, because we've talked about that one so many times. But there's a whole bunch of other ones besides that. So anyway, I started studying all these people that identified all these lineaments, and then I found out that they started having a conference every year to talk about all this stuff. And this was like way back in probably the 70s, 80s. They originally started it, and they've changed the name of it like 4 times. But the current name of what they call the conference is neotectonics. Before that, they called it basement tectonics. But what it's talking about is all these lineament lines, deep faults, suture zones, shear zones. They use 40 dozen different names for the same thing, but they're all talking about the same thing, and how they're all identified magnetically. And if you study the history of all these people, they're from all over the world. So like when I first started, I was just looking at the North American ones because that's what I was interested in. But then I found out, well, there's people that are doing it in Australia. And then I started looking up that guy because he was one of the main founders of this international conference. He passed away in the early 2000s, but they're still using all his lineament maps in Australia to find where all the good stuff is buried, because he identified it all like magnetically in lines, and that's where all the mines and stuff
Well,
they're
they
still doing in Australia.
they can also, like you said, magnetically, but besides geographically, there's a way to identify them magnetically in other ways too, isn't there?
Yeah, that's what they're doing now with the new satellites, which they didn't have this capability till 2021. Because the new satellites that they're using, if you look up all the new studies since 2022 and beyond, you'll see that they start referring to the Landsat 9 data. Because I noticed this just not too long ago, because I was looking up stuff in Africa, and they've identified all the lineaments in Africa, and they call them magnetic lineaments now in the study, and they have them all crossing over the fracture zones going into South America, like they're tracking where they all go with the satellites, which that's what these neotectonics people were saying back years ago, that once you find the lineament and identify it, you keep extending it how it trends like a fault.
Right.
Because faults are the same thing, right? Faults go northwest to southeast, they go northeast to southwest, or north-south, or east-west.
Do they also notice like a cycle, like there's a lot of fires that start, on this lineament, or, there's a lot of earthquakes that kind of seem to run on this lineament? I mean, are they taking that into account also?
There's
Yeah.
a fly around here.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't think they've noticed that yet. They might have, but
Did you?
because you can see the fires go along the same lines as what the earthquakes do.
I'm sorry, that was funny as hell. You're talking, Clem, and the fly moved right by your microphone. I hear this.
Oh,
Yeah. So
You got some big flies over there.
but I don't want to get into the fires part right now.
okay.
That's another episode.
But they
Right.
kind of use that to help identify where a lineament is, besides magnetism and geographically.
It's the same thing with the hotspots that you see on firms.
Right.
You see them do the same
So
thing.
let's start this story here. What, about 1860 or so? 1850?
Yeah, I can go back to 1857 on the
All right,
Nevada list.
1857. So we're going to talk about 1857 right now.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I gotta back up this story first, which is why I gotta explain why I'm doing it that way.
All right.
So everybody's all worried about the quakes in Nevada. So that's how I got onto the thing. So I said, well, I'm going to look up every single historical quake that they know about in Nevada. So like I've done other times, I've looked up a few, but I hadn't looked up them all. So other times I've done like 2 or 3 in Nevada, but today I went full bore on every historical quake in Nevada going back to 1857. So I'm going to bring up the Wikipedia page that has the list of them all going back to 1857. And then I'll explain that after I put it in there.
Right. And I'll try to get a map of Nevada area. All right. USGS. I'll use that one. Terrain, because it'll show us actually where these quakes are happening.
Which one did I put in there? Oh, I get the wrong one. I put 1954.
All right.
I need the earthquakes in Nevada one first. Okay, why is it copying my wrong one here? Get out of that.
Oops. Alrighty then. Specifically Nevada. Are you doing 6 and above or 5 and above or 4 and above?
The ones on this one in this list will be 6 and above.
All right, 6. Custom.
Just because it's easier to find the information on the big ones before it is the smaller ones.
Correct. I'm good with that.
So that's when I do it. I usually start with the bigger ones because it's easier to identify the information. So the list is up there now. So you'll see the first one was September 3rd, 1857 in Truckee. Well, I said, oh, well, that's exciting.
Because California.
Yeah. And then I go, well, that's the same year as Fort Tejon quake, which was January 9th, 1857.
Yep, that's there in California.
Yep. So I said, oh, well, that's interesting. So California was shaken before that happened. Where have we seen that pattern before? Like every single time.
All right.
Yeah. So then I looked at 1860. And that was Reno.
Well, Hepburn Lake was, that's 1959. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm going to build it up.
Okay, good.
But I'm going to explain. I started looking into 1860 preliminarily just to see what else I could find. I said, oh, this is exciting. I said there was a 6-point whatever Charlevoix seismic zone in that same year, early in the year. And there was a bunch of quakes felt in Minnesota, like not long after. So I said, well, there's all the liniment line that comes
Charlevoix,
all the way down.
You're talking up in Canada, right?
Yeah. So I started looking up like.
Well, where the hell's that? Charlevoix,
St. Lawrence River.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of quakes in Minnesota that were felt, a couple that year. So they were probably they had to be at least probably around 5.
Okay.
So that's Colorado liniment, Great Lakes tectonic zone line, that liniment that comes all the way down basically to the Gulf of California. So I was looking all that up, and I thought that was interesting. So all those liniment lines were activated in 1860. So then I said, well, that's good enough for now. I didn't have time to
wait a minute.
that one anymore.
1860. You've got St. Lawrence River down this line.
Yeah.
And the same year you have like Calgary through Wyoming and through Denver, that line. Am I right?
Well, it'd be the next one. The next one up would be the Great Lakes tectonic zone, Colorado liniment. The St. Lawrence one would be the one that would go down like towards New Madrid or whatever.
Are you talking about the ones that go through Superior, or are you talking about one that came out in northwest to southeast out of Canada? Because you said the Wyoming,
yeah,
like that.
the Colorado lineament, Great Lakes tectonic zone are the ones that come down through the middle of Labrador. So it goes Svalbard, Labrador, middle through Quebec, down through Ontario, through Minnesota, and then keeps going on down to they named it the Colorado lineament because it starts where the end of the Colorado River is. So it goes right to the Gulf of California.
All right.
So that's line. So those two lines were activated in 1860 from the stuff I've looked at so far. I haven't looked at anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So I just did that like before we started tonight. Then I looked at the next one and I said, 1868, that's fun. Virginia City. Well, 1868 is the same.
Virginia City, Virginia, or Virginia City?
No, they're all in Nevada. So right. Virginia City, Nevada. Well, 1868 was the same year we had the 9 in Peru-Chile border, the Erica quake. Uh-huh. That's the same year as the big quake in Hawaii, the 7.9, and that's the same year of the Hayward Fault quake.
Oh,
so Nevada was shaking that same year. All that stuff was happening.
San Francisco.
Yeah. But this is what I'm saying. But see, I didn't realize there was a quake in Nevada in 1868.
Yeah.
Until I saw this list.
I wonder if we're seeing, because they're just bringing it together. You're talking about Nevada in a specific area. Also, when you said Hayward, that's on the coast, which is 300 miles away. I wonder if there's kind of like an accretionary plane right there where something was accreted, right? And one side's happening and then the other side's happening. You know what I mean?
Well, it's doing the thing that it does with the triangles, but we're not going to get into that right now. But anyway, so now in 1869, the same place in Virginia City got hit again, 6.4. So this would be the year after all the crazy 1868 stuff happened. Yeah. And then Carson City had the 6.2.
Yeah, that's right next
December that year. Yeah. So I said, well, that's exciting. That to me makes sense because all the crazy stuff that was happening in 1868. And then I looked down and I said, March 23rd, 1872. That's almost that in the Augusta Mountains. 5.5, although some of the other things I read on that said it was bigger, but that's relevant right now. Well, look what was 3 days later.
Right. Tehachapi. No. Yeah.
Owens Valley.
Owens Valley. Yep. Which is right down the way from Carson City.
Yep. And then look what happened. December 11th, 1872, a 6 in Big Smoky Valley. And that's almost the same time that the North Cascades quake happened in 1872. So like these things are playing back and forth off each other. It's crazy.
You're talking Walker Lane right there, dude.
Well, this whole thing is Walker Lane.
Yeah. You're talking Virginia City, and I was in there and looking at that area up, Virginia right here. Carson City's right here. I never found where exactly Virginia City was, but I know it's Nevada.
Yeah, it was probably just like a little town back then, I imagine. I don't know how big it is now. I never went.
Well, the big valley in the western. It was filmed right down here, and Virginia City was there, and Carson City was there. Yeah, I don't know where. I guess I'd look it up someday.
Or does it even exist anymore, that town?
I don't know.
Well, I imagine it does, but it could be just small. Like Mena, Nevada, or Tonopah, or whatever. Because they all started out as like railway towns originally when I looked it up.
Definitely images. I mean,
railway towns and then like mining.
It's a cool looking town, dude. It's really a cool looking town. All right. It's north of Carson. It's up here. It's not.
So that makes sense then, because in 1869 it says Carson City there. So Virginia City and Carson City then are pretty close together. So that makes sense. So then anyway, the next one on the list down there, 1887, June 3rd. I said, oh, well, that's interesting. 1887 was the big Sonora quake down in Mexico.
Yeah.
Which would have been
Walker Lane is major active, isn't it?
Yeah. So I said, oh, well, that's exciting. So I just kept going.
For most people who don't know, when we talk about something like this, these are all the quakes that happened since, the other 1800. You didn't see that. Let me kind of, maybe I can open up in a picture here. Thank you. Oh, shocked me.
Sorry.
My wife just walked in. Pardon me. Trying to show somebody, exactly where the Walker Lane is, and turn that off, close that, and share this instead. And there's evidence, and I'll start up. Where's it? Vancouver, Canuck? Is that where you see it coming down?
No, that's only part of it. I'm going to explain better when I get to 54, but I'm just setting all this up till we get to 54.
All right. So basically what we're having earthquakes right in this area, this region.
Yeah.
Okay. So continue. I'll shut up.
So then the next ones on the list are Reno in 1914. Now, I never looked them up in detail, but I know what happened in 1915 because I've studied the 1915 sequence of events. So that year is when Lassen erupted. It was 1915. And then there was the big one in the Tobin Range right after. Well, Reno was shaking the year before. So I said, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense because Texas Lineament's active. So I said, yeah, that makes sense.
Did anything happen in Texas that we know of?
There was, but I have to go into more detail on that later because I have to match all the Texas.
Right. If you're going to say Texas Lineament and you're up there, because that's the Texas Lineament and the Walker Lane cross right there.
Yeah, I'm going to explain it more.
Bill Lassen.
Yeah, I'm going to explain it more when I get down further, but I'm going to explain all these other ones before I get to 54, because 54 is the most obvious and it's the easiest one to use to explain all this because there's so much info on it. So then I looked at the next one, 1932 Cedar Mountain, which is another big one, 6.8, 7.2. Well, that was the same year Colima, Mexico had an 8.1. So I'd already looked at that up previously. And the Colima quake was, I think it was more towards the start of the year. So February, March in that one in 32. And then I said, oh, 1933. What do we know about 1993? 1933. That was Long Beach. And I can't remember when Long Beach was. I think it was the earlier part of the year too.
I think it was April or March. Yeah.
Yeah. So Buckskin Ridge had wherever that is. I never looked it up. So it had a 6 right after the 1993 Long Beach quake. So I said, oh, that's interesting. Then 34 was another one that I looked up previously. Well, after the Colima quake in 32, it just kept quaking down there in Mexico. It kept having 7s and 8s for like over and over and big aftershocks for like almost 2 years. So I said, oh, well, that's interesting. And then I looked up where Excelsior Mountains were. and it's almost exactly where the big
Mena
quake.
Range, right? Mena Range
Yeah,
area.
yeah. So the exact same spots.
All
So when I started all this, the Nevada thing, I was looking up quakes around Walker Lake and Hawthorne that they'd felt there, and the two big ones that they felt there were the Excelsior Mountains one in 34 and the one that was in the Monte Cristo one. Those are the two ones that have shook Hawthorne the most in the last, whatever, 100 years. So I said, oh, well, that's interesting. So it's hitting the same spot as like what it did in 2019. So I kept going down the list. And then I thought that was interesting. 34. See, there was another one. Great Salt Lake in Nevada. So that was the same year. So it like kept going up because they're the 1934 Hansel Valley earthquake. So wherever the Hansel Valley is.
Yeah, I don't remember where the Great Salt Lake in Nevada is. That's what I'm trying to look up. Pyramid Walker. Yeah, I don't know where that one is.
Yeah, they're called the 1934 Hansel Valley earthquake, wherever that is.
All right.
So if you click on that, it should show where it is. I just never went and clicked on it.
All right. 1934 or 1834.
1934.
Oh, well, you're already there. For Hansen, Hansen. Quakes. Yeah, Hansel Valley. All right.
Yeah, it says that's in northern Utah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I got. Yeah, northern.
So then it kept going up and went into Utah.
Yeah, it's in the Great Salt Lake. That's what I thought. So I was confused by you said it was in Nevada. No. So it moved northeast. That's weird.
Yeah, so that's kind of like what happened in 2019. Because it basically did the same thing. Because if you remember, it went Ridgecrest, then it went Salt Lake, then it went Idaho, then it went back to Monte Cristo, and then the next 6 up there was the Walker quake. Remember?
So I do, the Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now where it's swarming now is Walker Lake.
So what he's saying here is, I'm gonna take these off so you can see this. And not in what is it? 2019, we had a Ridgecrest. We had up here to Idaho, and then we came down to.
No, it went Ridgecrest, Salt Lake City, Idaho, then back to Monte Cristo, then Walker.
Right.
I think those were all like 2019 through 2021.
That's basically what's on the screen right now, not the orange. All right, so go ahead.
Yeah, so then I came down to the next one. I said, wow, that's a lot of big quakes in 1954. So I said, well, why the crap would they be getting 4 quakes in Nevada in 1954? So then I went down the 1954 rabbit hole. So I said, well, that's interesting.
What'd you find?
I got to bring it up here to show you. It's the next one. Copy it. Little copy. Because I wanted to see like why those 4 big quakes happened that year. So what was the procedure for setting them up because I hadn't studied 54.
Okay, we're looking at 1954 earthquakes.
Yeah. So what I did on that list, when I'm looking up a new year, I always look and see what the major quakes are that year first by magnitude, because I want to see if I'm going to notice anything from doing that.
And Central Nevada is on there, 7.3.
Yeah, so it has the biggest one, but not the
extreme too.
3 before it. Yeah, because these year lists tend to focus on the biggest ones. So what I did, I looked at that list of the by magnitude ones, and I said, "Oh, look, Spain, Andalusia, Spain was the biggest quake that year." So that's way over by the Strait of Gibraltar, basically. So I said, "Oh, right. That's interesting." Then I looked at the next one, and it said
the depth with that thing is 626. That's way down there.
Yeah, but
7.8.
But anyway, so the next one I saw Burma. Oh, I said Burma, Myanmar. Oh, that's fun. At a 7.4. And then I went down. Well, I already knew about the Nevada one because I looked it up before. Then I said, "Oh, look, Japan. Volcano Islands, Ryukyu Islands. If you go and actually look it up."
Yeah, that's southeast.
Yeah, 7.2. So there's your crazy east-west line right there. Those first 3. Well, 4, I guess, including Japan. And then I saw the next one. I go, "Oh, that's nice. Mexico, Gulf of California, 7.2. I said, "Oh, well, there."
Well, but it's not necessarily in a straight line, but we have Ryukyu Islands right here. Myanmar, which is Burma, right here. Yeah. So it's real close.
Yeah.
And then Nevada, right over here. And what's the other one? Yet another one kind of.
Wasn't it the Spain one?
Yeah, the Spain one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Them are all within like a
here.
few degrees latitude then, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed this like lots of times before, so I wasn't really surprised when I saw this. But for the purposes of explaining how
the east-west, yeah, it's a little high on the Japan side.
Yeah,
because Ryukyu's down here.
But I don't know exactly which one it was. Yeah, which one it was.
That could be that lediment, like as Joe describes as the guitar string vibrating. So it could happen in any of that area where it vibrates, right?
Yeah. And then I kept going down the list. I wasn't too worried about the Owen fracture zone because it would be down lower. China, I don't know which one that was. Gansu, I can't remember where it is. So I never looked that one up. Indonesia was over into the Banda Sea, so I wasn't too concerned about it because it was down lower. And then I saw, South Sandwich Islands, 7.0 at the start of the year.
Well, now you're talking about a different liniment. When you jump from the east-west one, to a different liniment, which is much south.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I saw Fiji. Well, I wasn't surprised by Fiji either, but that's the normal thing. So then I started, I want to go down in by month and see how this actually worked, because that's how I always do it, right? So I start at the start of the year, and then I start looking for stuff on particular lineaments. So I went into January, and I said, I don't really care about Indonesia. I said New Zealand.
Japan was in there. Japan and Volcano Islands, 7.2.
Yeah, and then I said, I see Mexico off the coast of Guerrero, 6 in January.
Chiapas, yeah. 6.2 in Chiapas, which is southern Mexico, yeah.
Yeah, so then I kept going down. Well, there's
Michoacan, another 6.
Yeah.
So there was 2 There's one in Chiapas, and
Oh,
then
and you keep
north.
keep going down the list.
Right,
There's
that's more north.
two 6.8s in Nicaragua in February.
Oh, sure the hell was.
Yep, and then you see, well, South Sandwich is there. We already mentioned that one. And there's Japan again, acting up.
6.5, yeah.
Australia had a 5.4.
Again, look at that. Hold on, look at that. Bang, bang,
See,
bang.
I could get into the Australia thing, but I don't want to do that right now. But
Right.
I already saw the pattern that Australia always goes off before California gets a big quake. But that's a whole other add-on. We'll do later. So anyway, so I kept going down, and I said, oh, yeah, well, here we go. I said, United States, Southern Alaska, 6.3. And I said, oh, yeah, well, that's the usual. And I keep going down. I see, oh, Mexico, 6.0. Then I saw the next one, United States, Southern California, 6.4. I said, oh, well, that's exciting. There's another 6 to add to the list. So then I knew about the Burma one. Then I saw the Spain one, which I already knew about from looking at before. So I said, yeah, that makes sense. Then I looked, Hawaii, 6.0, 6.5. Well, guess what was erupting in 1954? Kilauea. So that's where the 2 big quakes in Hawaii came from. Then the Owen Fracture Zone one. So then I'm down into April. And I see, oh, look. Chiapas again, another 6. And I kept going down, and I see, oh,
Japan again.
Farther down in that same month, I see, oh, look, 2 Gulf of California quakes. The 7.2 I already knew about because we saw it in the list up there before, but there was a 6.6 foreshock to it. And then I said, oh, Greece, here we go. The Greece connection to the big quakes in Nevada and California. I said, yep, same east-west line, 6.7. So I said, yep, here we go. So now we're in May. We see a 6, Nicaragua. Then we go, oh, Mexico, Gulf of California, 6.4.
Crazy.
Yeah, and then I kept going down. I said, oh, 2 Oaxacas, 6.3 and 6. And I kept going down. Only in June. And then I saw, well, South America's acting up now, big time.
Yeah,
Ecuador.
So going south with
Yeah, Ecuador, 6.3. And then Peru had a 6.5. And Chile was acting up. I said, oh, yeah, that all makes sense. And I kept going down into the next one. And I said, that's when the first Nevada 6s started, was
6.8 Nevada, yeah.
Was in July.
Mm-hmm. 2 of them. 6.8, 6.2.
Yeah.
And then there's Australia again.
Yeah.
And Japan.
Yeah, off.
So what he's doing is he's building a pattern of a series of quakes that tend to happen around the time that other ones are happening.
Yeah. And then Chile was going off with a bunch too that same month. So then I kept going down to the next month, to August. And then Greece, the GNC had a 6. And us, well,
Nevada popped up in there when there we go, Greece. Yep. There's Australia again playing, and then back to Nevada.
Yep, Nevada again with the 6.6 because it had 3 6s before the 7 in December, which we'll get to December here eventually. But so I kept going down. I said, oh, well, what other thing Then I got down to France. I said France, but then I looked and said, oh, it's Algeria. So right across from Andalusia, Spain, straight to Gibraltar. And I said, look, 6.7. Then another one, 6.2. Then there's Japan again.
Okay.
Another 6. I saw the Fijis, and I said, "Oh yeah, Fiji. What else is new?"
Mhm.
So I kept going down.
Japan goes north.
Yeah.
From Ryukyu Islands up to north to Hokkaido with bookend sixes. And then October.
So now I'm in October. So I started looking down through that list, and I said, "Oh yeah, well."
Alaska.
I said, "Oh, Kenai Peninsula, Alaska, 6.4." So I kept going down. I said,
Mexico.
"Oh, here we go again."
Baja.
Mexico off the west coast of Baja.
Yeah, that's outboard. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's out in the Pacific. Yeah.
Yeah. So I said that. Well, that's interesting. So that's on the opposite side. And then I look and say, "Oh, the next one in the list is Guatemala." So Guatemala
6-1.
went off again. Or well, Nicaragua was going
then
off.
Baja next month.
Yeah, 6.1. So I
Yeah.
said, "Yeah." So I kept going
then
down.
Japan hits northern Japan.
Yeah, off the east coast of Honshu. And then I said, "Oh, well, this is interesting." Near the end of that month, I said, United States off the coast of North Cali.
North Cali.
6.8. It's making all sorts of cool triangles. So then I finally got to December. So I said, well, I'm going to go into that. That's when the real big one in Nevada happened.
7.3.
Yeah, with a large aftershock.
A 6.9 thereafter, yeah.
Yeah. And then it went back.
That desert mood, baby.
Yeah. then it went back. Yeah. Northern California had another 6.5.
Yeah.
So when I looked at that, I said, well, that's pretty obvious that it's Walker Lane being activated based upon where all those ones were and all that time. Because I think Walker Lane goes all the way from...
And South New Ireland. Oh, it's Papua New Guinea. Nothing to worry about there.
Yeah.
I wonder if it continues the next freaking year.
And then the other thing I looked up when I went into 1954 and see if I could find any other quakes that weren't on this, because I always do that. Because I don't trust everything that Wikipedia has on there.
Sure. It's not complete. Yeah.
And then I said, well, I wonder. So I typed that in. I just type in like lists of quakes in 1954. And then I find one, Trinidad and Tobago. 6.5.
And Texas limit.
Yeah, and I said, well, there you go. So that's Texas limit going right on up through. And I said, well, there's
that should go to South Africa or the what's that islands in the middle of the Atlantic? Yeah, I forget, starts with an A.
Ascension Island.
Ascension Islands, yeah. And then down there in South Africa, and then on out there to Beelzebub Islands or whatever they're called. Those weird ones, where the volcano's always going, but nobody talks about it because it's underwater. Your
have you? Oh,
go
okay.
Go ahead.
Have you from 1954? Just kind of talking about that year. Have you noticed like a particular year since then where you've kind of noticed the same kind of pattern developing as the year goes on? I mean, it could, start like in March or in June or whatever, but do you notice where there's a pattern that you can kind of look back there and you're like, okay, I can kind of see it developing?
Yeah, to explain it further, on the limit, how it usually works is that it either goes up or down it from whatever the biggest quake is on that limit. But the whole thing, but the whole thing is usually active, right? So you can see, like going along it, if it's having sevens, there's usually a bunch of sevens. Like, say, the east-west line. So there's a bunch of big quakes on it. There's a bunch of sevens. Japan, Burma, or Myanmar, they call it now. And like going over, you can see there was the 6.7 in Greece. So like a high 6. Then there was the 7.8 in Andalusia, Spain. Then there was the two quakes across from it in Algeria.
Right.
couple sixes, and then I kept going across, and then you
And
go
down
follow where the Mendocino liniment goes. It basically goes across all the way to Japan. So then I saw those sevens in southern Japan, and
Right.
or not southern, but it'd be more central. So I said, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, well I've seen it do that a bazillion times when I've looked up other ones."
Right, central.
And so it's fallen. And then of course I did the Walker Lane thing all the way from South Sandwich right on up. And there's other quakes that happened that weren't as big, like up in Vancouver Island, off Vancouver Island. There were fives. I remember looking them up before when I was doing other studies. So they don't show up in these big lists, but I know that they did it that same year because I looked up fives before.
Right.
So that's because when I do this, it's easy to find the 6 and 7s. Now I never looked. I have a list for Texas quakes to see if there was something happening in Texas in '54, but I never went and looked at that yet.
I'm going through the next year, just trying to find the same pattern that you were, laying out there. Yeah. And I'm seeing Japan hooked together with Adrenal Islands. One was like, they go back and forth, bang, 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 sixes and bigger.
Because I think that's another triangle.
Yeah, I think that's one end of a triangle. Gotta be. Haven't seen the other side yet at Baja, Mexico, off the coast of Jalisco. Yeah, okay. So Mexico, Japan, and Alaska. Now, get this. We had 6-7 in Japan. Mexico. A 7-6. And the other one was in PNG, and then the third one was in Indonesia.
Now, another thing about 1954 that I want to talk about, because now I've figured this out.
Stay on task.
Yeah, before I tried to look up just solar flares, but I found out that's not what I really need to know. I need to know the geomagnetic storms.
Right.
So now with all these years, especially the more recent it is, I can go and what I look up is the top 50 geomagnetic storms of whatever year. So in this case, 1954. So then I look at the biggest storms that year because it lists the top 50 of each year. So there was a whole bunch of KP 7s and 6s size storms that year. So then I look at the list and I look and see, well, when is like what months does it seem all the storms seem to concentrate in? So in that year in 54, there was a lot like around the spring solstice. So like April, there was a whole bunch of geomagnetic storms that time, like April, May time. And then I looked throughout the rest of that year, and then there was a whole bunch more like October, November, September, October, November. So to me, that made sense with all these big quakes all happening around those same times. So it was all like around the same time or a month, like probably like within a month or 2 months of all the really big quakes.
Triangle, Mexico, Adrenal Islands. You can come a little Fox too, but mostly Adrenal Islands and Japan. There's your triangle.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm seeing from what you've been saying.
Yeah. Well, there'd be a lot more than that if you went down and started breaking it down by the individual quakes. Like if you went by 7s and then by 6s. So you'd be making all sorts of crazy triangles. Like you'd be having triangles within Mexico.
But the interesting thing was
you'd be having triangles in the Gulf of California because there's so many.
I went the next year and the same thing happening. 1955.
Yeah.
I was seeing the same kind of areas. Australia's kind of a, how you get a triangle one way, like a, and then you you flip it over exactly, just kind of 90 degrees, flip it the other side. There's another triangle. Australia has to be part of that because I'm seeing it bounce around.
Yeah. But
what
to me,
what did the
to
last
me,
Australia
54 was the easiest one to see it. So that's why I picked that.
I know you're going to bring this all the way to current day.
Yeah.
Australia, Western Australia, or Eastern Australia has been bouncing. Nevada's bouncing. So there's some sort of connection there, is what you're saying. Continue.
Yeah, because the study I found on the New South Wales, Australia quakes, I posted it in chat earlier today. They had records of their quakes going back to the same time period, like 1860, because Sydney became a city around that same time. So they started recording all the quakes, like in the newspapers there and everything that they felt. Well, somebody went back and did a study and took all the felt quakes that they felt back in all those. Well, the actual study was from 1860 to 1954, which I thought was funny. Because I looked up the Australia thing before I started doing all this Nevada thing. Because what I was trying to find first, I was looking up all the quakes that were in New South Wales area near Sydney, Australia. And all the dates I was finding were matching up with all the big quakes in California. And I said, oh, crap. Well, that's interesting. So then because I could see from the dates starting from like 1860 coming up all the way to 1954. And I didn't realize that they were all going to tie in to the Nevada ones, because it's the same years that California's getting the big quakes. Nevada's getting the big quakes too. So now there's some weird connection between Nevada, California, and Australia going off. And now the ones in Australia, they've assigned magnitudes to them based upon what people felt back like in the started in 1860 coming up through. And they figure most of them had to be like high 4s or low 5 or mid 5 for people to feel it and notice it. So they have all the dates for those.
Do you know the chemical compound for, I'm sorry to interrupt you real quick.
Yeah.
The chemical compound for coal?
No, I don't know.
Is it oil based or?
Yeah, coal and oil are usually found.
Carbon. It's carbon, right?
Same places.
It's all petroleum based, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why Alberta has so much coal.
Go ahead.
Same thing with North Dakota too.
Yeah, same thing.
And Alabama.
Yeah.
And Alabama has the same thing. A lot of coal, a lot of natural gas.
Yep. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So that's all related to.
miles.
Well, I wasn't surprised when I looked up all the recent quakes in Australia, like the ones that just happened the last few days. Every one is next to a mining site. So I said, oh, yeah, well, that's not really surprising.
22 and 21. All right, continue.
Yeah.
I'm on a rabbit hole right now. I'm going to tell you in a minute.
Yeah. So then I looked up, well, I already looked at a bunch of those. So I was looking for the California connection between New South Wales, Australia. And then when I got into the Nevada thing, I found, oh, look, it's all the same years. So I don't know how that's connected, unless there's a lineament that's coming up all the way from Southeast Australia all the way up through connecting all those things. But I know that's where New Zealand was originally too. So I said, well, New Zealand's not too far away. So that makes sense to me, because I looked all that up before too. And then like the geographic history of
do you notice them like playing a tennis match back and forth, like Australia have a quake and then Nevada and then Australia, or is it normally Australia goes first and then Nevada, or Nevada goes first then Australia?
Well, no, it would be after. Now I'm going to explain this, why I think that. So if it's the Antarctic plate pushing up on everything, well, Australia would go first. Then you should have South America go first, then Central America. Then it should keep coming up, right? So you should get like PNG and Solomon Islands and all those places. And then it should go Philippines, and it should go Japan, and it should keep coming up, right? On both sides.
You know what? It's so logical that it's illogical.
Yeah. And that's what it's
because
doing.
there are people who swear that everything starts one way and goes another way.
Well, if you look at the GPS stuff, it starts making sense, right? Because there's a reason why the plates are moving the way they are.
Right. Which they're moving, like the North American plate is not moving due north. Yeah. What's happening is on GPS on the land itself, the crust, part of the crust is rotating clockwise, Fuca all over, somewhere center and in Oregon or Washington, there's that big spin. Yeah, but all the GPS is pointing to the north, right in that area. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Everything in California, everything off the coast, it's all running that direction. And then you get to that spot and it kind of spinning. But the entire North America is moving west, northwest. However, parts of the crust are getting, pretty beat up by Mr. Pacific Ocean.
Well, isn't it kind of the farther east you go back on the North American continent, more kind of due west the plate itself is running?
Yes. Because the bottom part is actually running northwest, the top part's running straight west. So the top part is moving that direction, but up here it's moving more in that direction. So it's getting kind of forced to this clockwise rotation.
The Pacific plate's pulling it north.
And the Pacific's plate pushing it north. It's agreeing. So this part is spinning up here in somewhere the center part in Washington, in central Washington there, where the Fuca is going underneath, right, crashing down. And I don't know how that plays into.
Okay, well, I'm going to try and simplify this even a little bit farther.
Okay.
So Walker Lane is northwest to southeast. So when we're talking about the entire west coast of North America and most of South America and Central America, that's all northwest to southeast.
Right.
So South Sandwich all the way through Anchorage to North Alaska. So that's the main exciting lineament on the west coasts of the Americas. Let's simplify that. Well, there's other ones that go the opposite way, northeast to southwest, right? So that would be your other component coming the other way. So coming from like up towards Svalbard and Iceland and all those places. And then you have all the ones that are east to west. So in 54, I was talking about all that east-west line, Andalusia, Spain, coming across all the way through Mendocino, then all the way across Japan, Myanmar, Greece, Algeria, Andalusia, Spain. So all back there again. So I think there's three components for it to make a big quake. So whatever one you start with, I think it's coming from at least those three. It's coming from a northwest to southeast line. It's coming from a northeast to southwest one, and it's coming from an east to west one. And I think that's why it makes the triangles. So it's three components to get to whatever particular quake you're looking at. I think that's what it's doing. And it's all on how everything is being charged up. So there should be those same years. I don't remember what was happening in 1954 in Iceland. Maybe there wasn't anything. I don't remember that year. I'd have to go and look it up to see if anything was happening up north or Svalbard or any of those places. But I'd have to go look to see if it was doing anything.
The diagram on your screen, show on screen. The diagram on your screen is the three lineaments that Canuck is talking about. The yellow one being Walker Lane, the orange one being the St. Lawrence, the green one being the Texas lineament.
Yeah. Well, how about the one that goes from like Gibraltar through Nevada all the way over to Japan.
I don't know the name of that one.
Well, I don't know what to call it because it goes the whole way around. It's just one of the main east to west ones, like right straight.
Right.
Like I've seen it do this a whole bunch of times, so this isn't the first time I've seen that.
Correct. And this is an observation kind of thing here where
Right.
you know, and it's pretty uncanny. And I'm going to try and get to the new ones that he's talking about there. And unfortunately, I don't have all of it because I would like to see where it's hitting at Japan. But
hey, can I ask you a question? It's slightly off topic, but it does have to do with the lineaments.
Yep.
Back in 2021, the 3 different 8.0 pluses that we had that year, could you pick out one lediment that covers all 3 of them, or was it a couple different lediments that went, you think?
Well, if Walker Lane goes from North Alaska to South Sandwich Islands, well, the South Sandwich 8.1 was on Walker Lane, right?
Back when you said Greece, were you talking about Crete or were you talking about Greece proper?
There was 2 of them. I don't remember. There was two sixes that year.
Yep. And intersection. Wow.
Because I've noticed the thing before with California quakes, and Greece was a thing too. So I've seen that a whole bunch of times.
Yeah.
Where Greece has a big quake the same year as California does.
Okay, but like you said there, you had the Alaska to the South Sandwich Island, the Walker Lane lediment there. The one that happened over in Fiji that year, could that just be the other lediment running from southwest to northeast that crosses over it?
Yeah, I think that's a different one that comes up from the Antarctic plate.
Okay.
Yeah, that comes up through and goes through Kerms, and it goes up through Japan because there was a 7 in Japan that year too. So it's on that same angle. I think there's a chain of islands. I can't remember the name of them that comes off where the Kermadex there is, and it goes down towards, I can't remember the name of the island chain, but if you follow that island chain down, it goes right back like over towards Chile and like back down towards the Antarctic plate.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a bunch of islands, I can't remember the name of them, that come off Kermadex, like kind of right in the middle where Kermadex is.
Yep.
Islands, and it goes down that chain. If you follow it, it like goes all the way back across towards like southern Chile, I think, and eventually Antarctica. So if you kept going, it's pretty close. Probably right back to near South Sandwich again. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the other big quake that year was the Sand Point one.
Right.
Which we already know that's the Texas liniment. Because you keep extending it out, it goes through Blanco fracture zone, and you keep on that, and you can actually see there's islands out there and a more seamount chain that goes right that way towards Sand Point.
Right.
And then I think the Kodiak Island one is the next liniment up, which is the Olympic Wallowa one. Yeah, because if you keep going on that same angle, to the west, to the east side of Kodiak Island is right where that one goes. Like if you keep going on that same angle. So that year it was Walker Lane had an 8. Whatever that other one, I don't know what to call it. South Chile to Kermadex to Japan. Whatever to call that one, I don't know what to call it. Had an 8.
These are pretty much what you've said online. If you look on your screen.
And then
these are what you said through North America. Do these look right to you? You got the orange one being the Olympic Walla Walla. The green one being Texas, the blue one being the east-west, and the yellow one being Walker Lane.
Like if you just plot those 8s,
Mm-hmm.
the biggest quakes that year in 2021, which is the last time we had 8s.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big triangle. So Kerm, Sandpoint, and South Sandwich. And I think that's how it went, if I remember right. So it went Kerms first with the 8, then Sandpoint, then South Sandwich. But it does the same thing every year. I look them up, going back for like 100 years or whatever.
Right.
Like if I looked at the top 3 quakes every year, it always made a triangle. Sometimes it was a big triangle. Sometimes it was a small triangle.
What year did you want me to look up?
I can't remember which one were we talking about now.
I don't know. You told me a year, and I went, "Oh, wait, I can find that."
Was it 2021?
I think it was.
Yeah, 2021. Yeah, it was the
right.
3 8s.
Yeah, in 2021 had 3 8s. That's the most 8s in 10 years.
Yeah, and we haven't had any
right
8s since then, so we're probably due for a bunch of doozies.
Right. All right. So the 3 of them were in by magnitude. Yeah, Alaska, the Aleutians, the New Zealand Kermitics, and the South Sandwich.
Yeah, but what I did when I started the triangle thing, I said, well, I'm just going to do like 100 years and see for like all the biggest ones. So every year I just took a list of all the biggest quakes. Didn't matter whether it was on Wikipedia, USGS, EMSC,
doesn't matter,
whatever. Doesn't matter. So, and everyone was doing a triangle. It was just a question of how big it was, how big the triangle was. Which my theory on that, it has to do with how much the core is being
for
charged.
a triangle to exist, you need 3. So a lot of years didn't have 3.
Yeah, but I mean just the 3 biggest magnitude quakes of the year.
Okay, all right.
So it didn't matter if it was like a 9, an 8, or a 7, right? I would take the 3 top ones, whatever the top list was, and every time it would do the same thing. Sometimes they were a bunch close together, like 2023, because the Turkey ones were the biggest ones, so they were all right close together. Because they were, whatever they were, 7.8, 7.6. I can't remember where the third Turkey one was a 6.8, but there was another 7 that year. I forget where it was, but
yeah, 21 was a particularly very active year. It had way more 6s than any of the other 10 years, except for 14. 5s, it was well into it was into 2000. All the other same years, from 14 to 23. 16 is the high, 13 is the low. So 21 was a very, very busy year. Earthquake wise.
Yeah. And what I think it has to do is how much the core is charged for whatever reason. Because cosmic rays can cause geomagnetic storms too.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
so out of all the 9s I've studied so far, which are all the ones basically in the 20th century, the only one that was happening at Solar Min was 1964 Alaska. All the rest were when there was crazy. It was either approaching solar max, leaving solar max, and there was a whole crap load of solar stuff happening. And when I started looking that up, I just started looking for storms by year, storms or flares. That's how I first started doing it. And you can do that going back to like in the 1800s, but it's a lot harder because you have to look up like who recorded the storm and where it was, or who recorded like the flare or the sunspot. You can find it. It's just harder.
In 2024 here, our year right now, we're exponentially lower than any other time in the last 10 years. We have 4 months left of this year.
Well, unless we have go crazy.
We have 6-0 and above, not to 7, but 6-0 to 6-9. We only have 58. We still have 4 months. So
and we got the fall equinox coming up too.
Yeah. That's in
well, and we also have the planetary alignment coming up in mid or end of October, where all of the major planets will be on the backside of the sun, and so will the Earth. So let's see what happens then.
Yeah.
So it's going to get wild.
Well, all I'm saying is right now it's very odd that even if we doubled our numbers in 4 months, we wouldn't even approach the number of 6s that have happened in the last 10 years each year. On the 7s, we have 8 7s this year.
That's we're kind of behind on that too, if I remember right.
We are. 2017 had a total of 6. 2019 had a total of 9, as well as 2020. But in the last 10 years, most of them are 11, 18, 16, 16, 11, 19. And we're low on 7s this year. For just like looking at a spread, I would think there at least be 1 or 2 more 7s. And with the 6s,
well, just look at 54, how many you had to have to get all.
We need another 50. We need another 56s. So if we need 56s, what usually happens to get that many 6s to equal up in 8?
Yeah, I would say at least the mid 8.
Because you go 8, if you go to 7, then you're going to get 54s, and you're going to get, or 5s, because it's always the 2 numbers down, and 3 numbers down gets exponentially more. As a quake happens and it just dissipates over time, that power spreads out. But
have you noticed a pattern? Like, we haven't had an 8 since 2021. Do we? It's been a couple of years now. Does it normally spring off like closer to a 9 when it finally does happen?
Yeah, if we're at solar max now, we're approaching it, which they can't.
It's in 25. Yeah.
Yeah, they can't. Well, they still can't.
I know.
Really agree on that. But. So the closer we get to solar max, we should get a 9 somewhere.
Right. And
now it's just a question of how long that's going to be.
What happens in a solar max, and as I want to show it on the screen, these sunspots that are up here more and down here, everything gravitates toward the center. I think like 20 degrees either way, all the way around.
And we've noticed here in the last couple months that a lot of them have been right at the center or very close to it.
Yeah. So
yeah, slightly southern for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. As you can
see right
here,
now, but a couple months ago there was like a shooting gallery of bullseyes directly right at us.
Yeah, and if you just look at this year for just 7s, it's all been the West Pacific, except for the 7.2 in Peru.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there hasn't been
Australia going off. It lets me think, okay, got to watch Alaska, you got to watch Mexico, and then maybe Nevada, California.
Well, based upon where the
got to see Japan go too,
where the quakes are in southern Australia. If Antarctica's pushing up on it, Solomon's, PNG through Solomon's should move first. Which you got to remember, we saw the 2 active buoys there on that.
Yep.
on that eastern side. And today there was one on northwest Australia was going off. So that's like the whole continent. So there was 2 on the east side, 1 on the west side. So I think that whole thing is getting ready to push up, which means our next notable quakes should be somewhere between Solomon's and PNG, most likely. And then on the East Pacific side, we have the 7.2 in Peru, whenever that was. And then we've had, well, wasn't there a 6 point whatever down by, or wherever that was, Costa Rica, Panama border or something. But we haven't seen like any bigger ones coming up yet. We've had all these different swarm locations where it's been like 4s and 5s, but we haven't had anything larger other than the 6 swarm there that was off Vancouver Island and all the smaller quakes. And then the 4.8 in Fox Creek, Alberta today that's only on UNRCAN and Volcano Discovery, but not EMSC or USGS.
Yeah, in Alberta there, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was on the back page of EMSC too, because somebody said it was on there.
4.8 magnitude. All right.
But it wasn't on the main page.
I saw some weird activity up on a Denali fault, which you can see. Well, you can't see it. Hold on. I'll share it for you.
But Fox Creek, Alberta is a big fracking area, though, too.
Yeah, so I was just going to ask, aren't they like trying to get oil out in that area?
Yeah.
That's been kind of isn't that kind of somewhat close to the area where that, what was it, a 5.9 originally? But
yeah, there was one.
Ended up being downgraded down to like a 5.5 or 5.4 in that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was back, I forget what year it was, 2016 or something like that. I think it was like 2016. Because I looked up all the Alberta quakes a long time ago. But what's funny about it is there were still quakes there before they did any fracking. So nobody seems to care about that except me.
All right, so that's where the earthquake's happening.
Because everybody's trying to blame it on fracking, which I don't think it has anything to do with it, unless it's within 3 kilometers of the surface. Anything below that, I don't think it has one friggin' thing to do with anything. Because it's all has to do with faults and minimums. Because that's why there's quakes in all these same places before we did anything with oil. So that's what I think.
Well, who cares what you think?
That's my theory. I'm sticking to it. I didn't want to get into it with the environmentalists in one of the chats today because they were arguing about how much carbon the volcano in Iceland was putting into the thing. I didn't want to tell them that the wildfires makes way more carbon than anything us humans could make, especially all the wildfires we've had the last few years. Because if you look at all the studies on them, with all the wildfires we've had, it's put so much carbon up, it would take us 100 years just to catch up with one wildfire. If we were like smoking cigarettes and burning everything we could burn and running our car all day for 24 hours.
Yeah, but you can't tell people that though, man, because they'll think you're nuts.
Yeah. Well, all they have to do is just read the same stuff. And that was just...
You got Kermitics coming in, possible 4.2.
What the Quebec fires did last year was, I forget what they said.
Already downgraded.
It was like 50 years of Canada burning like everything. Just from the Quebec fires. So that wasn't including the Alberta ones, the BC ones, the Northwest Territories ones.
All right. As we hold on, guys.
It doesn't help the agenda, though, man.
Yeah. As we have gotten on to 2 hours, we're going to have to do a part 2 to this because I don't think we scratched the surface. We didn't get to modern time.
We're still 100 years behind, man.
Yeah.
We're still in 54.
Right. So, a little bit longer than that. 90 years ago. So yeah, we're going to do a part 2 to this, and hopefully Timmy will have gotten his questions down. He was supposed to do homework, but he had to take care of the boys. And old Clemmerduda came late. He didn't tell us what he did, how much did he get, or all the weight total. But he didn't tell us.
Some fish today.
He got some fish. He did. He caught some. Great.
Yeah. Well, how about we do just the next 3 quakes in Nevada, because I can do them right quick.
All right, go right ahead, bud.
Knock them out, man. Knock them out.
Yeah, so the next quake on the list in Nevada is March 23rd, 1959. Dixie Valley had a 6. Well, guess what year? 1959. What's the other big quake that year? Lake Hebgen. So Yellowstone.
So basically going from Nevada toward the northwest.
Yep. And then the next one they have on the list.
Northeast.
Yeah. So the next one they have on the list for Nevada is June 29, 1992. And it's at the Nevada Nuclear Test Site, 5.4. And then they have St. George, Utah, 1992, 5.9. Well, guess what other big quake happened in 92? One of Joe's favorites.
Landers.
Yeah. So it went Landers, Nevada, Utah. Imagine that. Because Landers is really not too far from Ridgecrest. So it's the same pattern as 2019. So there we're up to 1992. So we're pretty close to 2000s, but we can do the 2000 ones later.
All right. Okay. I thought you wanted to continue, but okay. We're at 2 hours right now, 2 hours, 1 minute. I know they're going to cut me off on the other channel, so somebody will lose it and go, hey, there's only half of a thing out there. So
yeah, your site just bounced.
Yeah, typical.
Well, there we got a hook for the next one then. So that's good.
I don't see it bouncing on my end, but y'all do. All right. I'm going to
Thank you, gentlemen. I learned a lot tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Canuck, man. You're awesome. That was great. I appreciate it for sure.
Right on.
You got that triple decker filing cabinet triangle brain there.
Well, there's always more stuff to find, so who knows what else?
Right.
So
Right.
That.
Well, we'll have fun on the next one. If you're over there on YouTube and everywhere else on Facebook, thanks for being here. If you have any questions, go ahead and shoot me there. Shoot me an email at jsldiscussion@gmail. So do that, and or you can find us live every day, Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 9, sometimes 10, depending on my day and what's going on. Sometimes I'm in there at 7, so be aware of that. Always be early because 7 is when I usually try, but I got to take my baby to work.
Even if you're on time, you're still late.
Yeah, I try. We have a good time, but we do a live show in the mornings between that time, and then if there's any big events in the evening, we'll run again at 7 o'clock. Or rabbit holes are Wednesday at 7 Arizona time. Figure it out. If you don't know where you're at, you have problems.
Know your time zone, boys and girls.
Yeah. And then on Saturdays, periodically, right now we've been doing it pretty regularly. But that's kind of always up in the air depending on what each of us have going on that day or that evening, actually. And there's more events going to happen. There's more changes to our channel that's going to be added to it. Going to be pretty exciting here next couple of months. JSL may change pretty radically by the new year, and that's my goal. Usually it takes me 4 to 5 months to get things kind of going, to freshen it and to make it new. The basic stuff's there, but graphics and different sorts of things. So always having fun with y'all. I appreciate you. Appreciate your tips and your subscriptions. Like and share this video. And remember, don't get none on ya.